All righty, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. This is Preston Guy. I'm joined with a very special guest, national champion, LSU legend, snubbed for the Ray Guy Award, but that's okay. We'll talk about that. Brought shame to my family name, and that's okay. Zach Von Rosenberg, thank you for joining us. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm happy to be here, and it's crazy that like I said, I think I said this on Twitter. I spent 3 days deciding on whether or not to post the official announcement, because it was such a I think I went back and forth on for a while, but it just seemed like the right time to make that decision, and here we are. Now I'm getting interviewed by you.
Yeah, I know, and you're kind of having a week to just chill here. You're preparing for the Hula Bowl. And, of course, you did announce going to the NFL, and you said that was a pretty hard decision, right?
Right, absolutely. And when you've dedicated 5 years of your life to LSU, and, you got to experience the best season in LSU history, it's like it's a situation where you're like, God, am I really making the right decision? But you have to make it the right decision. And I know that I'm ready to play at the next level and get an opportunity at the next level. And I'm not getting any younger. So I thought it was time. I talked to my family about it. We felt that it was time. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it now. And we have the #1 punter in the country coming next year, so it's not like it's going to be that big of a drop off in terms of who's punting. So.
Right, pretty crazy. We lose one of the best punters in LSU school history, certainly in my opinion. And there's been some good ones. And then you just casually bring in #1 punter in the country next year with Peyton Todd, who he's a big boy. He's 6'5", man, and he plays more than just punter up there at West Monroe. So pretty exciting. I want to thank Kenny P. Haines for sponsoring our show tonight. He's got more than 30 years trial year experience representing real people and their legal needs, jury or judge trial. Kenny has been there, done that. So y'all give him a call, 318-222-2100. Kenny was telling me before the show in 2007, he watched you pitch against Captain Shreve High School for your sophomore year, state finals, and he said that it was the most incredible pitching experience.
Oh, yeah.
I'm getting real dyslexic. Punting, pitching. He said it was the most incredible pitching he had ever seen. So kind of cool that you go that far back. Was that 13-year dig in?
Yeah, it's been a while. The other special thing about that game, 2007, that team was probably the best team I played on at Zachary. We had so many great players. I went to a bunch of professional players that were on that team, but we were 31-8 in 2007 at Zachary, and either 3 or 4 of our losses were to Captain Shreve. So we had lost them at least, I'm pretty sure it was 3 times before we played them in the championship game. We hadn't beaten them. That was our 4th time playing them that year. And so we got to play them in the biggest game of the year, and we won. So we
got the dub.
That's right.
Some redemption. How cool is that?
Yeah.
So of course that was a very long time ago. And there's been no like shyness about, you're 30 years old punting, right? You're a 30-year-old punter. What has been kind of like your favorite old man jokes that you've come across?
So there's a bunch. I mean, there's a whole lot. The one that caught me off guard probably the most, this is before COVID. One of our walk-on players are the ones that like to really poke fun about it, because I was a walk-on first, and then but one of our players, his name's Jansen Maye. I had grown a little facial hair because my intention was to grow a mustache. This might have been actually in 2019 when we were making our run, but I had some facial hair growing. I was planning on shaving it to have the mustache for a game or two, just because. And Jansen looked at me and said, "What you do there, all big talk face? What's going on?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm just trying to, see what it looks like, I guess." And he goes, "Oh no, I know what you're looking for. You're looking for that senior discount." Like, I was like, and he just laughed and said, "Got him," or how it is. And I was like, "Oh my God!" And it was so nonchalant and unexpected that I started dying laughing. The few players that heard it too thought it was hilarious. But that was probably one of the best zingers, just because of the circumstance. It doesn't seem like much, but because it was so unexpected, it made it hilarious. But yeah, Jansen Maye will appreciate that shout out.
Yeah, there it is for sure. It's been pretty funny. I've cracked a few AAR pay jokes myself. The stash though. I mean, that was kind of like an '80s throwback. Were you born in the '80s?
No, close '90s. I was 90. I was 1990. Yep.
So you missed it by just a bit. I was a '91 baby, so right there with you on that fringe, but definitely a '90s kid. So in terms of the seasons, the last 2 seasons I want to talk about, it's been my 2 seasons with TigerBait, which has been just a crazy emotional roller coaster. You go from, 15-0, in my opinion, greatest college football team ever, to this last season where, although it had a strong finish and it was great to come out with a winning record, it kind of had some real lows. Can you talk about just the emotional roller coaster, the difference, going from all-time great to a struggling season? Just how was that, for you?
So I'll probably have a pretty in-depth answer to this. We had high expectations coming in the season, and you should after you have a 15-0 year. We just didn't have the preparation in place, I felt like, to be ready by day one for the season. And that has nothing to do with Coach O, has nothing to do with Bo Pelini, has nothing to do with any of our coaches. We just simply lost an entire spring of all new players. And then, we lost our whole team, 15 draft picks. Was it 5 first rounders? Everybody keeps saying, oh, it's an excuse. How does so-and-so do this every year? Well, they do it every year because it's like a system. Well, Coach O is still implementing that system of having those stout classes every single year. And this freshman class and underclassmen did not get the opportunity with Bo Pelini. I mean, obviously he's gone now, but they didn't get to learn that defense going from a 3-4 to a 4-3. We had a lot of guys that were still learning, what we need to do and how to make adjustments. People were unfamiliar with one another in terms of how we were going to play out this season, rather.
Right.
We never got that momentum. We started off the season, we lost to Mississippi State. We didn't get to watch film on how their new coach was going to field an offense and what kind of plays he was going to have. And they game planned us pretty well. We gave up a ton of yards. But the good thing about that game, we scored a lot of points. And Miles was healthy at that time. And we looked good on offense. We just struggled on defense. And we never really got the balance that we had from 2019. Right. Whereas by the end of the season, both offense and defense in 2019 were lights out. I mean, we gave up 25 points to Clemson and we almost only gave up 17. We were playing lights out in 2019 and we were in rhythm in 2019. And in 2020, we had so many things throw us out of whack. Miles Brennan got hurt. Guys opting out, guys getting reps late into camp who then opted out late into camp. It caused a lot of problems.
Right.
And that's not anyone's fault. It's the nature of what happened this year. So we never got the rhythm. Miles then gets injured. So now you're having reps with guys who haven't had a lot of reps as freshmen. They're all capable players. It's just you need time on task. And then you had TJ, like I said, and Max trying to fill in a role that they may not have been fully prepared for. They will be. They're both going to be great quarterbacks. They're both going to excel at the position of quarterback. But they think about how many throws Joe Burrow had by his 5th year compared to how many throws TJ and Max had by their 1st year.
Right,
that's
exactly.
Astronomically different.
Huge difference.
I'm probably talking 25,000, 30,000 throws and maybe more than that.
Well, one of the points I made was I felt like when Miles Brennan went down, he was playing lights out, in my opinion. You look at the stats, he was on track to be like the 2nd best quarterback in LSU history, just statistically.
Right.
I thought that the drop-off, and this has nothing to do with TJ and Max, it's just the fact that they are true freshmen and it's a COVID year that affects preparation. I said the drop-off would be more dramatic between, if Joe Burrow had gotten hurt the year before, Miles had to go in. You think he probably could have been pretty serviceable in
Absolutely.
that 29. It was a stacked team, right?
Right. I think Miles would have done last year what he started off doing this year, because Miles is a very capable quarterback and he proved it. Was Joe? Did Joe have an unbelievable year and maybe the best year ever? Of course. And that's not. Yeah, we're not taking anything away. What I'm saying is Miles could have filled in and we'd have won. Probably, you know what I mean? Like we'd have won games. It wouldn't have been.
I saw a lot of games were tight and all, like Texas and stuff. But there's some throws Miles might have made that Joe wouldn't have. I could see Miles Brennan easily being a 40 touchdown quarterback.
Oh, absolutely.
Now,
absolutely.
Joe Burrow was a 60 touchdown quarterback, and there's only been one to ever do that. So you can't take anything away from Joe. But I think to me in 3 games, it was very apparent that Miles was a very capable quarterback, and he should be a capable quarterback in the future. And it's just unfortunate. Now, during this season, of course, I love doing these postseason ones because we can get a little more candor. You know what I mean? Coach O and all them, they refuse to make an excuse anytime, anywhere, any place, right? Any team, whatever. But it seemed to me like, people were like, well, Alabama reloads every year. Why can't LSU? And I looked at it and I said, At one point, 19 of 22 starters were gone. You had 3 starters on that team left. And, you're breaking in a new quarterback and really, a new offensive scheme with, a new passing game coordinator and a new defense and switching from 3-4 to 4-3. So I don't know. You're good. You're good. Just keep the Rona to yourself.
Yeah, right.
Good. In my opinion, I felt like LSU was replacing more than any team in the country, and that disproportionately hurt LSU with coronavirus and stuff. You lost a lot of the offseason spring game. Do you think LSU was disproportionately hurt by the weird season that it was?
We were overly exposed to it. We were overly exposed. We had so many young players coming in, new coach implementing new defense. Like I said, the personnel, everybody went to Baylor. We lost Joe Brady to Carolina. Dave Aranda he was running the same offense essentially for 4 years at LSU. So all the players in-house knew that defense. And so going into this year, losing all those players, we were more predisposed to the circumstances. We were set up, for lack of a word, we were set up for more failure than say a team that had veteran guys coming back without a new coach. If you had the same coaching going year after year, it's fine. It's no big deal. You just reload players. Well, you're really reloading coaches and reloading players with a bunch of very young team. And luckily for us, we've gotten through our growing pains year and a COVID year. When people say it's a COVID year, so it's, fans weren't there anyway, so it is what it is. But going into the next year now, that's your preparation should be normal. Your especially the spring, you're gonna have practices. Like you're gonna have a fulfilled schedule all the way through the fall. So you should see a dramatic improvement in the product on the field, but on Saturday, in my opinion.
So excuses, you get them for last year, and I agree with you that it would have been unreasonable to expect all that much better given everything that team went through. But next year, they should be ready to rock.
Everybody should be ready to rock and roll. Everybody should know their assignments. Everybody should know the defense. I think we'll be fine. We're not going to have the issues this year, in 2021. Now I can say that we're not going to have those same issues arise because we're going to have hopefully a normal year. I don't see it being an abnormal year now because we've dealt with the problems and COVID and lockdowns or whatever. So I see the preparation being exactly the same as, say, the spring of 2019. And with the full schedule and the new players coming in, learning their role, learning the defense, learning the offense, I think we'll have a much better product by game 1 of 2021.
I agree with you. I think there's going to be a lot trending up. Y'all, I want to invite anybody who's watching live here on our Facebook and YouTube page. Y'all get any questions you want for Zach. He's told me he's more than willing to hear anything y'all want to hear. I have plenty of questions for him. I also want to thank Kenny Haines for sponsoring our show. He's been a long-time TigerBait subscriber, and we love him. He's a proud graduate of LSU Law, class of 1989. That's about when you were born, right?
So I was a twinkle in my mom's eye for a year.
Exactly. That's the Zach Von Rosenberg day. His family's all LSU. Wife Brenda is a huge fan. His son Kip worked for Sports Information just like I did. Graduated in 2018. We call him at Rethink Wealth for financial planning in Houston, Texas. Even grandkids have new game day jerseys every year for LSU. So great fan, Kenny Haines. Y'all give him a call, 318-222-2100. So you and Joe Burrow got pretty, close last year. I saw y'all hanging out, a lot of post-game stuff, and I think you shared a text message. He calling you old this year for your birthday. Has he ever considered what an honor it is to be BFFs with the GOAT of LSU?
I would say I'm best friends with him. I just, he's my teammate, and we mess around.
But he should consider it an honor to be friends with the GOAT.
Oh, you're saying me? I got you. No, he liked dishing out the old man jokes. That he was one of those that was on the train of giving me a hard time about my age.
Yeah.
But no, he was a character on and off the field. He liked he exposed himself a lot of times with SpongeBob memes, and he's a quirky guy, and he liked video games, and we all like video games, even though I tried to cut him out a couple years ago.
I was gonna say, didn't you tell me you've banned
I
yourself?
I had to stop. I got bad into it in terms of not addiction, but I was playing video games way too much, so I had to cut it off. That was just
so. Wait, was this when you were a professional athlete?
Oh yeah. Oh man, I was playing way too many Call of Duty.
Call of Duty.
Yeah, it was Call of Duty. I liked Halo, but I liked Halo way back. Like I played
That's it.
original
You know you're
Halo,
old, man.
Halo 2. I mean, all those old original Xbox games.
Yeah.
I mean, we're talking about. I'll go back to N64. I played some of the best games of all time. GoldenEye, Ocarina of Time. You know, all those the games before the games. You know, everybody says, "Oh, Fortnite and this and that." I'm like, no, the real game.
No, the real
The
games,
real
we
game.
all know. It's
Yeah.
Ocarina of Time. If you pulled out the Master Sword, well, let's put it like this. If you never pulled out that Master Sword and became Adult Link out of nowhere, your childhood is worse than ours, right?
That's true.
I mean, there's just no equivalent.
We don't make the
dude,
rules.
This is why I love having you on here, because you're the voice of my generation. GoldenEye, Halo, all that stuff, man. I was right there with you. I was probably cursing you out on Xbox Live once upon a time. So, yes. Do you have any cool stories, Joe Burrow off the field hanging out, anything? Or
I had we snuck out of I think it was at the SEC Championship. We snuck out to get food. We went to a burger place. It was it's not one we have here though. It wasn't like Five Guys. It was like one of the ones that I might have gone after. What was it? I can't remember. But anyway, it was a burger joint. It was like In-N-Out Burger, but the knockoff.
Where was
Shake
that?
Shack. It was Shake Shack in Atlanta. So we went to Shake Shack, and so we go get our food. We snuck out the hotel. My parents picked us up and brought us to Shake Shack. We got the food, and on our way back, my dad he tripped on these stairs and spilled an entire shake on himself. And like it was one of the most embarrassing moments of my dad's life. Because he even said, "Joe Burrow is going to remember me for spilling a shake all over myself." And I was like, "Pop, I bet he doesn't." He doesn't remember that in a week. Like it's because we got so much going on right now. I bet it doesn't even matter. But Joe thought it was hilarious. I mean, in the moment he didn't think it was funny. Later on, he thought it was funny because it was kind of scary. Like, my dad's a big man, and he hit pretty hard, and I'm pretty sure he cut up his leg. But it was. I hate to say it, in the moment I was laughing, but Joe didn't laugh till later.
But I mean, surely it was his ego that was damaged more.
Oh,
I mean,
for sure.
You spilled a milkshake all over yourself in front of a Heisman winner.
Right. Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
my goodness, dude. And, you know, that's hilarious.
I hope my dad's not watching on Facebook. He'll probably be upset.
Because I know you as the milkshake man, bringing the boys to the yard. So a little bit of a serious question. I went up and used my platform to argue that you not only deserve to make Senior Bowl honors, or the Reese's Senior Bowl, but I thought you deserved the Ray Guy Award. And just looking at your stats, I mean, you had a very high percentage, inside the 20. You brought a lot. In fact, there was one game that weighed you down, really. It was the Alabama game, which is unfortunate. But the whole game itself was unfortunate. Do you honestly feel like you were snubbed for being a finalist of the Ray Guy Award?
Knowing as a punter how on point you have to be for an entire year, no. Because after the A&M game, and I had some, just some issues punting the next game. We rugbyed most of my punts, but the game plan itself was, I knew I wasn't punting up to my normal, ability for that game. But we rugbyed that whole game to throw off their punt returner, Devontae Smith, who arguably is probably the best wide receiver to ever go to Alabama. So the whole game plan was to keep the ball away from Devontae Smith. Mission accomplished. However, the average sank significantly because it was like a 35-yard average for the game. But in terms of going into that game, would I have been happy to know that Devontae Smith did not return a ball for a single yard? I would say yes, but I would be disappointed with the average. But with our game plan, doing the rugby punt in that game, I'm not. I mean, obviously it hurt my chances at the national award, but to accomplish the goal that we had going into the game, I felt like we did that at least. But yeah.
All right, so Chris Domain has a question here. Who do you think is going to be number one running back next year at LSU?
I don't know if we'll have a number one, but I would say it's gonna be TDP and John Emery.
Yeah,
it's going to be them two. It has to be. John will be the more catching the ball at the backfield back, and TDP will be the guy north and south. But they're both going to get significant playing time. And in this league now, you don't want to have a single back.
Right.
You want a fresh back on every single play. That's just the way the game is now. It's completely different than how it used to be.
So I feel like these high tempo offenses, I played in one my senior year, and you're just going up and down. You're just tired.
And people don't realize like how often players are. So that's why we have so many cramps. You run 6 straight plays and you're going full speed for 6 straight plays. You're borderline. You're almost cramping.
But you don't have time to rest.
Exactly.
You're getting tired, man. I mean, I feel like absolutely. You need a rotation, guys. Even with Clyde, they still rotated a bunch last year. So, yeah, I see that. And who I'm excited about is this kid, Corey Kiner. He's from Ohio, Mr. Ohio. I think we remember the last Mr. Ohio.
Right.
So,
really
good.
I don't want to say that, too. I don't want to say it's just going to be those two guys. It's going to be – there's going to be a rotation. But those two guys are going to get the first look for sure because they've been somewhat consistent at LSU.
He also
so
asked about Coach O contacting Joe Brady for OC. That'd be pretty cool, huh? But
I doubt Joe Brady would come back because as a coach, and he's been at the NFL. He was in the NFL before he came to LSU,
Sure.
So that was obviously his ultimate goal was to succeed in the NFL. So they would have to offer him just lucrative amount of money to come back because I'm sure his dream. I don't know what his favorite NFL team or who it was. I doubt it's the Panthers, but that's his job now, so they have to be his favorite team. But he's going to try and excel at that level and get a Super Bowl because what better way to cap off your career? He's young, obviously, but to say, I was an offensive coordinator of a Super Bowl winning team, that's a resume that gets you anywhere in the country for a job forever. Yeah. So that's obviously what his goal is right now.
Yeah. And how was he as a coach, just handling? He was a pretty cool dude.
Yeah, I like Joe a lot. He's a good dude. He's good people, and he knew how to be a coach, but be a player's coach. Sure. He knew how to flip the switch, and that's why he's going to be successful in the NFL.
Sure.
And shoot, if he came back, he'd be successful again here too. But I think that was a smart move by Coach O. I think he contacted him about in order to get in touch with other personnel that he would say, this guy's going to be good for this type of offense you're looking for at LSU. I think that's what it was about, right? I don't know if he actually, I guess he could have offered him the job, but I know that Joe would be a great person to get a reference from for who we should hire as OC.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But, I think the word on the street is a lot of teams might consider him as a head coach this year, which would be, to me, that's just, what an upward track.
I know. Right? He's been flying through.
I'd take a shot on him personally. Just from everything I've heard, he's an absolute genius. So I'd be all over it. Let's see. Someone wants to know, Zach, do you have a favorite NFL team? Or
I've been a Saints fan. I've been a Saints fan.
Yeah,
I've been a Saints fan, and I can't say. And then the next questions would be, Morstead and whatever. He's getting old. I'm almost as old as he is. So that's not. He's 5 years older than me, but no, he's been there a long time. He was a part of the Super Bowl winning team, and I would love to play for the Saints, but I'm on a wait list right now.
Of course.
Yeah.
You just kind of take whoever's willing to take it at this point. Have you heard any feedback as to, do you think you'll get drafted, or do you think it's going to be a free agent situation? What feedback have you gotten on your pro process?
I don't know. Honestly, pridefully, I want to say yes, because I know I'm good enough to be drafted, but in the real scheme of things, only 2 punters get drafted a year. And I'm not saying I'm not capable of being that one of those two. But it's a rarity for it to happen. I know I'll get an opportunity. If that doesn't happen, I would love to be drafted. Right. But if that doesn't happen, then I'll sign as an unrestricted free agent, and I'll be one of 64 at camp, and I'll have to become one of 32. And either way, whether you're drafted or not, that's what it's going to be. It's going to be an opportunity, and you have to win a job. And so that's where I know I'm at, and I'm looking forward to it.
Well, it seems to me like most kickers in there, they don't really get drafted most of the time. It's very, very rare you see that. I got a little comment here saying I should be looking at Zach during this, and Zach, no disrespect. I have to press the buttons and do this also. It's kind of a one-man army, so I'm definitely listening to him 100% here. Someone wants to know, Max Johnson, how is he as a leader off the field? Did he have a chance to really be a vocal leader this year?
With the freshman quarterbacks, they both tried to because you have to. Once you take the role as quarterback, you have to be a vocal leader. You have to be the guy motivating the offensive line. You have to be the guy saying, "Hey, we're gonna go down because we're down by 7. It's right before halftime. We need to score. Whether or not it's a touchdown, you got to get a score, because that statistic will tell you the team that scores but right before halftime is more than likely going to win the game, or at least be in the game at the end. But no, both quarterbacks, TJ and Max, can fill that leadership role and will fill that leadership role. It's just a matter of next year we're in like a weird spot, because I don't know what it's going to shake out with Miles, TJ, and Max. It's going to be weird.
It is going to be weird. And the new guy, Garrett Nussmeier's in the equation.
Right.
highly recruited.
So you're going to have all these guys fighting for one job, and then that guy is going to have to take on the leadership role. And we know Miles can do it. We know TJ can do it. We know all three of these quarterbacks have won games. All three of them.
That's a huge deal.
So they're going to be ready. It's just a matter of who's going to win it, who's going to etch out who, and who's going to win the job. And I think Miles still is the best quarterback. And I don't know, with the injury, does that mean he gets another year of like a injury year?
Like an injury
does he get an injury year?
So he could be 2024.
That's what I'm saying. Could he be here longer now? So I don't know.
I mean, I would assume next year would count as a junior season.
Right?
There's no way this season is going to be used against him. But does he get a COVID year and an injury year? Could he go junior, senior too? Yeah, I doubt they want to. In my opinion, I bet you if he's the starter next year, he would probably get NFL looks.
For sure.
I mean, now whether he'll be good enough to be first rounder and choose to go or not, but I bet you anything he could be a top 3 round quarterback after.
Oh yeah, if he has a good season, throws 40 touchdowns, he's a top 3 round pick.
Yes. Now obviously there's a lot of work they got to do. They don't even know who's going to be calling plays next year. Of course, Coach E will be there, which I think him being on staff is a huge deal. I mean, I think he's one of the most underrated guys around. But who's a quarterback they should have been talking about more is LSU former second-string quarterback Zach Von Rosenberg. I got a clip here. I'm going to show the people the clip. We had to sit on this for quite a while.
That's right.
Here we go. I think this is yeah. So look, here's you, and this is just the screen recording you sent me. But that's a pretty good over-the-shoulder throw. Let's see. Scoot over here. There we go. That's Zach right there, stepping back. Can you see what's going on and walk us through?
I think I'm just running right in this period. I'm running Alabama's offense actually.
Oh yeah.
And so we're just kind of mimicking what they do and how they, what is it called? Have decoy routes or whatever. Like they try to get your eyes. What do you call it? There's a word for that, but they're trying to make your eye discipline be poor and
you try to make them bite, right?
Misdirection
about check off the safety.
Yeah.
Because I mean, obviously that offense was rocking and rolling.
They're still rocking and rolling.
All that discipline stuff there. So let me ask you this: you got to come in for the Bama game at quarterback. Let's say if that game was played as scheduled, and I think it was just TJ Finley at practice that week, right? And then there was you, TJ Finley. Let's say the kid gets knocked out first play, you have to go in. What's your stat line that day?
I don't know. That's something I'm kind of happy it didn't happen with such little preparation. I think we'd have run a lot of Wildcat with John Trey Kirkland first.
Really?
Before, just to talk, because there wasn't really once we knew we were at below the minimum amount for the SEC game. It wasn't really taken that seriously. Of like, okay, what if you had to play type thing? That kind of brought the problem down. But if I had enough preparation, could I have done okay? Yes, but I did not have the preparation needed to play against Alabama in my first SEC game.
That would have been a rough one. My gosh!
Yeah, I'm not gonna sit here and say I would be arrogant to say I would roast them. That would be ridiculous. But could I complete some passes? Sure, but you're still playing Alabama.
I mean, that's a raw first start, and it had been 10 years since you had taken a snap at quarterback.
It's been more than that. It's been a long time.
To me, I thought that should have gone on your resume. But just the fact that you were, in a crazy year, stepping up in a role like that. I mean, that means a lot to team. Scout team reps like that. You probably emulated Felipe Franks too the next week, and probably a decent comp. But anyways, that was a lot of fun to keep on watching. I think a lot of people just for meme purposes alone would have lost their mind.
Right.
We had a Zach Von Rosenberg quarterback appearance. I had a really nice comment I just wanted to read here just because I feel like a lot of fans echo this sentiment. This is from Richie Evans. Congratulations on an awesome career. Thank you for your talents. Who in your mind have you observed to be the best leader on and off the field since you've been at LSU?
Thank you, Richie, for those kind words. Since I've been at LSU, the guy that I really thought made the best leader. Well, I guess there's two. When I first got here, I liked JD Moore a lot. The way he day in, day out worked and kept his head down and really grinded. And in my opinion, it's a shame he got to the NFL and got injured and never really got a shot. The way he embodied the leader the leadership I think every team needs. It was phenomenal. And then last year I wouldn't say that we had one specific team leader. Like everybody wants to point to Joe, and Joe was a good leader, and he was a good motivator, and he had the O-line and the offensive side of the ball. Like it was flawless. But we had a bunch of guys. We had Patrick Queen on the defense. He's a motivator. He was talking smack. I want to say other things, but like there was rivalries and you need those competition-like practices where you have guys talking smack back and forth. And we had that with Devin White. Devin White was another one. He was so elevated at practice, and I'm sure he brought this to the NFL. He was so elevated at practice. He practiced harder than he played in the game. Like I'm not saying he plays unbelievably hard in the game. So just imagine how hard he practices. Like it's a personal thing. It's like, I'm beating you. Like I'm not beating this, I'm beating you. And so you have all those guys are the best leaders. The guys that come to practice and they're on Tuesday and you're like, shoot, my shoulder's still hurting from the game, my wrist, my ankle, my hamstring, whatever it may be. And that guy still goes hard.
Right.
And that's the guy that, in my opinion, those guys make great leaders. And you need them. You need vocalizations, but you also have the guys that need to lead by example. And some of these guys, I'm telling you, are those guys. They show you how it's done on Tuesday. Right. And Tuesday's the practice that's going to separate the men from the boys. It's going to separate the guys who are going to start on Saturday. And a lot of the culture of LSU has become that. Who's going to show up on Tuesday? Because whoever shows up on Tuesday is going to play on Saturday. And I know Coach O mimics that sentiment. And I'm not saying he's what do you call it? I'm not saying that any of these guys are Superman. They just know how to practice. And the guys that, like I said, JD Moore too, because JD did on both sides of the ball, with the vocalized part and the play part. But those Tuesday practices are when the guys that are leaders come up and show up.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of good leaders. Could you imagine like that 2019 team if Devin White had chosen to come back another year? Like, I mean, I think of games like Ole Miss where it's like that guy Devin White in the middle would have just completely crushed them. The linebackers were stacked already, but
not to take anything away from, like, I feel bad because that would have probably impacted Patrick Queen's draft stock. Think about if Devin White would have came back, it probably wouldn't. Like Patrick Queen's a first rounder. Like, you're playing the NFL. He's
probably gonna be the defensive rookie.
Exactly. He's going to be a defensive rookie of the year. And just imagine if Devin White did come back, that would have maybe pushed Patrick Queen out. I'm not saying that for sure, but it definitely would have
been back this season too.
It's a weird, yeah. But PQ showed out last year. Things happened the way they were supposed to. But oh my God, it'd have been crazy to have Devin and Patrick, two first rounders,
50 game and hold them to 20. It would have been.
You could probably subtract at least a touchdown from every team score.
Yeah, I think that's very fair. I mean, especially considering you look at the kind of touchdowns. It's like the defense was good, like 9 plays out of 10, and then there goes John Rice Plumlee for another 60-yard touchdown.
Especially that game. Maybe not every game, but that game, the Ole Miss game, they would not have run up and down on us like that. One or two busted plays a game. It was like a very good defense most of the time. And then you think about it, like, how many final scores were fluffed because they added, a Devonta Smith 80-yard touchdown? It's like, okay, come on. The game was not that close. Right.
They never had the ball with a chance to take the lead. I think that would have just really cemented it. But fortunately, I don't think there's very many people debating that that's the greatest team of all time. I've talked to a bunch of people about that, and not much debate. So I hope you take a lot of pride in being the punter of that team. That's really cool, man. So speaking of that, I got to ask you, you had a whole long professional baseball career, and now you've had a career as a college punter. You've got 2, decently long athletic careers in 2 different sports, which is very rare. What was more enjoyable for you, being a professional baseball player or being a collegiate punter?
Well, with the way, it's an easy question to answer because with the way baseball ended, it's just like a scar on my life in terms, because I'd always envisioned myself playing baseball, and I thought I would still, at 30, I'd still be playing baseball.
Right.
So the easy answer is obviously football, because it ended up being a very successful run. We won a championship, and I got to play for 4 years, and got to dodge a bunch of health problems. And whereas in baseball, that's how my career kind of ended. I kind of just ran into obstacles every year after like 2012. I was injured on and off, and I just wasn't having the production that I needed to have. And so that made the end of my baseball career, for lack of a better word, pretty miserable and very difficult to overcome and come to grips with. I was, messed up and upset about it for a long time until I kind of like, okay, navigated through, all right, what's next? And that was, once I made the transition, I didn't know what facet of LSU football I was going to have a role in, but I knew I was going to do something. And if anything, it was a distraction at the beginning. And then once I got to past the distraction phase, I was like, okay, I'm good enough to do this, this, and this. And then I focused on those three things, and here we are. And so you got to narrow your focus, and that's all I did here. I figured out that I could have the biggest impact on the team as a punter, and knew that I could be that competitive, take that competitive pitching side of it to punting. And I really took pride in, making the field as long as possible in every game. And because it's such a huge side of the game, people don't realize is if you look in the NFL, the teams that pin the ball, the teams that have the best field position and win the field position battle win the game. Like it's ridiculous when you look at the statistics out of it. Like they win the game way more often than not. And so that's what I took pride in. I was like, well, I'll be that guy that's, when you look through 100 pages of stats, I'm the last stat you're worried about, but it means something. If I'm pinning Florida on the 1 and they have a 3 and out on the 1 yard line, think about the field position change in the game. Exactly. So I took pride in those moments, and we, Coach Mack did too, and we really saw how and took ownership of that. Yeah. And so that was the role that I knew that I needed to take on, and luckily I got to stick it out for 4 years.
So did you grow up like an LSU football fan as a kid?
I was a diehard fan. It was crazy.
So this was a big time dream for you.
Oh man,
for LSU.
Absolutely. Like my first game, I was probably 7 or 8. Maybe I might have been younger than that. And then I tweeted at Robert Royal. I'm pretty sure I was at the game where he caught I think it was overtime against Tennessee. He caught a touchdown pass. I was at the game, and I was going bananas. I was 10. Yeah. And but all these moments and great players. Like I grew up with like Josh Booty and Josh Reed and all these old time players, players that now kids that are watching today that are 17, 18 years old have no idea what I'm talking about. But I grew up in a different era of LSU football. It was the beginning of the golden age when I was a fan. Like it was DiNardo was like the first coach I really remember well. And then leading up to Nick Saban in 2001, and we're beating Tennessee twice in 1 year to win the SEC championship. Cool. And then it leads to the national championship in 2003 against Oklahoma. Oklahoma. And the last play of that game was Donnie Jones' punt.
Yeah, how cool was that?
Yeah,
right?
So, but no, it's been a run, and that's the thing I get to take away is we've had so many of those old players come talk to us, and the guys on our team are like, "Who is this guy?" And I'm like, I know who this is.
Yeah, no, it's pretty cool. That's one of the things I was like, this interesting interview here is, I can do some like old school comps, today's the 17-year anniversary of the 2003 national championship game. So I was going to ask you, do you remember that game?
Of course.
How old were you, and where'd you watch it?
I was about to be 13. I was 12. I was 12.
Right. Okay.
Because it was the beginning of 2003. So I was 12.
It was 2004. So I was 13, right? January 4th, 2004.
That's right. Yep. So I was 13. But yeah, we were going bananas in my living room. I still remember because I had my LSU. I forgot what player. It might have been might have been Matt Mox. No. I'm sorry. Who would have been? It would have been.
What was the play? Name the play. I can help you out here.
No, I'm trying to think. But anyway, that's not important. But anyway, I had my LSU jersey on. Yeah.
I bet you it was Michael Clayton. I bet.
It was either
no.
It was. I liked Michael Clayton.
It was Marcus Spears, Michael Clayton, Matt Mock.
I think it was Matt. I don't think it was a mock jersey.
Had to be.
I think it was a mock jersey. But
G18.
Yeah. So I'm wearing that. We win the game, or we finally know the game's sealed up. And I still remember the first play. Actually, the biggest moment of that game was Justin Vincent's run.
Oh, how cool was
that? Because he went to Barb. I was in Lake Charles at the time. Yeah. He went to Barb. I watched him for 4 years at Barb. And then I think it was the first play of the game.
The first play of the
game.
Right.
First play of the game, he runs for 70-something yards, and we're going nuts, right? And at the end of the game, I remember dogpiling on my carpet because we thought we were going to lose. We didn't deserve to be in the game because we had 2 losses. Oklahoma was a powerhouse. Mark Stoops was the coach. Bob Stoops. Yeah. And man, it was like we were the underdogs. We played the best as the underdogs. It seemed like, but.
Fun
it was special.
Season. You know how many kids grew up like hardcore LSU fans because of that season? I mean, I'm sure me and you are both in this bubble of we were kids watching that game, and now we're addicted for life because of it.
Exactly. It took it to the next level. I was already a fan, but once you win a national championship in the way that we did with that team, it elevated your fandom.
Sure.
For sure. And that was the one that was like, all right, if I got the chance, I want to play football for LSU. That was the first goal was obviously baseball, but it was cool how that obsession, I guess, if you will, with football at LSU was really heightened after that event, after the national championship.
Very cool. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about. So you grew up, even when playing baseball, you're still watching the LSU games and stuff like that. Like you've been following the program the whole time, right?
So we would get done with my season in baseball. I'd get done usually around the first LSU football game. So I would literally be flying in or driving in from my baseball season, and that weekend is the first LSU game.
So you didn't miss anything.
No, yeah.
You've been
sometimes
playing or watching.
Right. So sometimes I had to go back and do rehab stuff, or like we had something called it was like fall spring. What was it called? I can't remember what it was called. Fall, like it's spring training, but in the fall. That wasn't very long though. It was a couple weeks.
Of course, you have duties.
Right. But so yeah, I would come back. I'd go to the first game, and it'd be like the party, like, oh, I'm coming back in town, tell my friends. All my friends were still in college at the time. This would have been, until about 2014, and everybody was gone then. But I would come home, and it'd be like the celebration of, I'm home, we're going to the LSU football game, we're tailgating, we're having fun. And so that was like, it was a release for me. And there actually, one of my times coming back, I stopped in Tallahassee, Florida. I got picked up by one of my friends in an RV and drove back and rode back to Gainesville, Florida. So I parked my car at a hotel in Tallahassee, got picked up in an RV by 3 of my friends, and we continued. I left my car there overnight, went to Gainesville, and then came back to Tallahassee. And that was a cool story too, though. Yeah. But no, it's been a good run. It's been fun.
You're a hardcore. So one of the things I was going to ask you, a lot of people made a comparison. Do you remember Jamarcus Russell, Matt Flynn, that little dynamic going there?
Mm-hmm.
Did you catch vibes that, was kind of similar to Max Johnson, TJ Finley, just the physical skill sets of those guys, and they came in the same year, all that good stuff?
It is a very similar situation. The one thing, obviously, TJ has a huge arm like Jamarcus. I mean, the skill sets there. It's like he can make any throw at any time. It doesn't matter. And honestly, it might get away from him sometimes because he doesn't even realize how hard he's throwing, and he's not even trying to. He's just throwing it. He's saying, okay, he's making a read, making a throw, and he doesn't realize how much arm strength he has. But with TJ, I would say TJ over Matt Flynn. TJ's, no offense to Matt if he's listening or will hear this, but TJ's freakishly fast. Like it doesn't look like he's running fast, but he's flying. And so that's the one difference I would say. And then obviously he's left-handed, but
you're talking about Max Johnson.
Sorry.
Fast.
Oh yeah. Max Johnson's very fast. So that's how him and Matt Flynn are very different. Not saying Matt Flynn's slow, but
I remember Matt Flynn took it for a few runs too.
That's right.
I thought it was a little weird when they put him in for the Texas A&M game. They spelled TJ for a drive, and it's like almost like a Tim Tebow offense they were calling. I was like, he must have been showing in practice. He is booking it because those are some aggressive play calls they're doing for him there. Obviously your punting was incredible, but you also became a man of the people through your tweets. Okay. Even Tiger Rag did a whole story featuring 31 Zach Von Rosenberg tweets. It's just incredible stuff. Did you ever get in trouble with your coaches or SID for something you were putting out on Twitter, or were they just like, hey, he's an old man, he knows what to do?
No, I wouldn't say I got in trouble. They're just like, hey, look, you are getting a platform now, so be careful what you're putting out there. And I was like, well, how about really put scandalous stuff on? You know what I mean? Because that's not my personality to begin with. I like to because humor has lost so much. People are so scared to offend people now. I'm willing to go to the point of okay, I'm not trying to offend you. I'm trying to be funny, and I hope that you pick up on that through how I'm portraying this. Yeah. But that's just I guess what I'm trying to put out there. I'm trying to just be funny without being rude. And sometimes it comes off that way to some people, but it is what it is.
But you never really upset someone where you address something, right? Because
absolutely
you were always pretty calculated with it.
Right.
It's fun. I kind of get what you're saying. I kind of remember when me and you were growing up, comedy and stuff. You didn't have to worry about cancel culture quite as much.
Not at all.
You could just say things and be out there differently than you are nowadays. It's a little sad that we've lost a bit of that humor and realism.
Yeah, and a lot of it is people aren't willing to laugh at themselves. For humor to be humor, you have to be willing to make fun of yourself.
Exactly.
And I do that a lot on myself, talking about age and whatever it may be. but like if you can't laugh at yourself, you're going to have a hard time laughing, period.
Exactly.
And so that's the thing. A lot of people don't have, I don't know if it's the confidence or whatever, but they immediately go from, instead of, oh, this is funny, they go, this is offensive.
Right.
And that's the difference. And it's not, it is what it is. There's not, I don't know how to change that, and maybe it will shift back, but people just need to get a little tougher, I guess, in some cases.
Yeah, no, for sure. So just wondering about that. Do you plan on, even as an NFL punter, continuing your, synopsis of LSU Twitter, continue to put some great analysts out there, or are you just going to move on to the next team paying you millions of dollars to kick for them?
I haven't really put much thought into that. And you asked the question. I was like, oh, I didn't know where it was going, but now I see what you're saying. I don't know. I mean, I guess I could still weigh in on LSU football because our games will be on Sunday. Mm-hmm. So Saturday we'll probably have a walkthrough and then a bunch of downtime. So I probably will weigh in on LSU football still. But I don't know. I haven't really thought of it much. In general, how this whole thing got started, it wasn't supposed to be like what it became. It just kind of happened that way.
Right.
I just wanted to be funny, and for lack of a better word, Twitter can be like an outlet just for like what you're thinking. Right. And then like for me at the very, very beginning, I would type things out that I'm thinking or like my opinion just because I wanted to come back to it later, and whether I've been in response to another tweet or whatever. But it's like your own personal journal that people can comment on sometimes. I don't know. And but no, it's become a very how do you say this? Like a fan interaction thing. It's cool, and
it's fun. I like it. You seem to enjoy it.
I do, absolutely. It's fun, and I love the memes and the comments and the content, and people. You can never like count people out. They're going to come up with a meme. And after the shoe gate, some of the best memes I've ever seen. There was some incredible creativity, and that's the one. So the internet is like a double-edged sword. There's things about the internet you hate. There's things about the internet you love. But like stuff like what happened after Shoegate, you're like, how is Twitter free?
This is the best thing ever. Like, I mean, my goodness, I remember like just growing up, and it's like, after something cool like that happened, it's like, okay, cool. What does the ESPN Sports Center have to say about it? Now it's like everybody can have something to say, and it's so much fun for me. I did genuinely enjoy it, and you definitely seem to. I have 1 or 2 questions left for Zach, y'all. If you have a question for it, get in. I'm going to scan a few and then let him get to, being an NFL punter or whatever you're doing now, just casual, no big deal going to the NFL. And we'll let him get off after getting any questions and scan that. But, I'm really curious, plans after football. I know you're definitely focused on being an NFL punter here now. Would you ever consider anything like media work or anything like that? Pat McAfee went into Barstool and did that very well. Seems like you have a great personality for that kind of stuff. Do you want to consider a career like that after football?
I've absolutely thought about it. And if you didn't bring this up, I was going to bring it up myself. I was going to say, if to anyone listening, like, what do you think I should do? Because I'm still in that, like, I thought I had everything figured out before COVID, but the company I was going to work for kind of cut a lot of the jobs that I was planning on taking on after football. Yeah. And so now I'm kind of like, it's sad, but I'm 30 years old. I know like I would be good at a bunch of quite a few things, especially media, whatever. But I don't know. I'm undecided. I'm in that okay, what do you do? Like, I know I'm going to train. I know I'm going to get strong. I know I'm going to be ready to punt as an NFL punter, but that's a window that's going to close eventually. So I have to figure it out. And so I guess what I'm getting at is what do you think would be the best route that I should go? Because I do like media. What do you think?
I think you should sit right there and come do our post-game shows with us every single weekend. And that's what I would pick if I had a choice. But that's on you. I mean, maybe I'm sure you'll have a lot of people calling on you. I'm sure if you wanted to pursue that, I think you'd have tons of talent to do it. You got a great personality. You're very articulate. If you're asking me, dude, go for it. I think you'd be great at it. I think a lot of people would enjoy having you return. We see a lot of former greats come back with national championship rings. We have the Flester show going on. Matt Flynn, Jacob Hester doing their thing. Dude, I think you would enjoy it a lot. I hope that your bank account is set up to do whatever you want after a professional football career. I'm sure you'd be very talented at that. Let's see. I'm going to get to any comments here. This is the last call for people to get anything in. Let's see here. All right, here's a good question. Do you think LSU is a realistic title contender next year?
I think they could be. We need to get our all our coaches in sync like we had in 2019. That was obviously a dream situation. You had coaches that were very in tune with what was needed and how we needed to fix things. And if we get back on that same page coaching wise and in sync, translating all the information to players, I absolutely think we have the talent to be a contender next year. I think we'll have obviously after we have a whole nother recruiting class, I think 2022 will be like, that should be the year. You know, how 2016 was the year, like everybody thought we were going to be something in 2016.
Right, yeah,
I think 2022 is that year again.
Yeah, that's
it's no excuse. You're going to have a great team, great players. We're going to be stacked at every position by that time, and veteran players too.
Absolutely.
So, but next year I do believe we could be a contender. We just got to keep scoring points, and we'll get all our quarterbacks, and we'll figure it out.
With you. I think they'll be a good team next year.
I think they'll be a good team.
I mean, much better, and worth noting, it's not like they're building from something that's nearly as bad as what a lot of people were thinking. Obviously after Bama on 3-5, but this is a team that went 5-5. The last time they won a national championship in SEC play, they went 3-5.
Wow.
So 5-5 in SEC play is actually better than that.
Right,
so,
absolutely.
In a lot of ways, this is a better team than that 08 team. I mean, especially the way y'all played at the end of the year. I mean, I thought y'all were playing pretty darn good football. I thought that looked like a 7-3, 8-2 football team.
I mean, we show what we're capable of playing Florida. We beat a
y'all
Final
played like
Four
that against A&M and you beat them.
Right. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Period. I mean,
absolutely. And then we ended up 6-4 instead of 5-5, and people are like, wow, they salvaged the season.
Right.
But 5-5 is like, oh, we're 500. And it sounds better, but it's still not a win. It's technically a winning season, but is it really? 5-5 and 6-4 is a huge difference.
In my opinion, I call it a winning season because I know how hard it is to win football
games
at all, especially when you're doing all SEC. And it keeps the second longest streak in the country alive.
That's true. And that's true. In terms of like how you count streaks, it definitely counts as a winning season. But I know that if we'd have been talking and say, oh, we finished 6-4 versus 5-5, you'd say, wow, I can't believe we finished after beating. We had to beat A&M, Florida, and Ole Miss to go 6-4. That'd have been crazy.
Yeah, I mean, I just think the difference between calling it 5-5 versus 4-6.
It's a big difference.
That's a huge deal. So I'm glad, but I think about it. It's frustrating because you think you're 1 yard short at Missouri.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if Mississippi State's another week, you know what I mean? Like that was a close game too. Maybe a couple. Like the defense did improve toward the end of the year. Maybe if they were playing just that little half step better. What could have been for this team. And then I think about what if COVID never hit and this team gets all those reps that they desperately needed. I mean, to me, it was obvious there were some reps that missed out and were desperately needed. I thought this team was not very far off from being an 8-2, 7-3 team this year.
Right. Absolutely. I agree.
Which with 4 fluffer games, I mean, that's a what is that? That's like a 10-2 season, which is pretty good. So I think they'll be good for next year. Let's see. Someone has. I think this is a baseball thing, and I'm guessing this is somebody who played against you, Luke Fielding. Do you remember when St. Mike's beat y'all 9-3 at home? Is that?
I think that would have been my junior year, or I can't. I do remember that game.
Yeah.
Just tell him I didn't pitch.
He didn't pitch. All right, there you go. Keep your trash talk to yourself, Luke Fielding.
I'm trying to remember. Was it in a tournament or was it at? I can't remember the shoot.
I don't know, man. I have no memory of it at all.
I don't know. Yeah, true. I don't know. I'm thinking it's a game. It was at home. Yeah. It was a long time ago.
Yeah, he says at home, but he kind of remembers it, but he remembers he wasn't pitching. So let's keep that trash talk to ourselves here. My wife chimes in here, Alyssa Guy. Join ESPN radio team. That's what you should do after football. So there's a little insight for you. James Reed, Twitter handle. Of course, get your plugs in right quick. Where can people go follow you and hear the amazing sarcastic Twitter?
ZVR09 is my Twitter, and it's actually all my my social media is my Facebook and Instagram. ZVR09. So pretty easy. It's just my initials and 09, my year I graduated high school.
Yeah. Okay. So one actually really good question here from Bill McGill. That's a fun name there. Why do punters no longer try to kick to the corner and go out close to the flag?
I try to do that still. I think I had a couple this year where I did that. I think I did it against Vanderbilt, and I think I did it against Missouri. Mm-hmm. But people still do it. But I think at the next level, they're more worried about just hitting the ball at the 10-yard line, not hitting a touchback. They're not the next level. They're not getting greedy because they understand odds and percentages of going 90 yards. that it's at I think it's considered 3 extra plays or at least 2 extra plays to go 90 yards versus 75 yards.
Right.
So, and a lot can happen in 3 plays.
So it's all about just down it.
They just wanted to,
because it's probably not going to roll.
They're thrilled to down the ball. Anything inside the 10, they are thrilled. So that's why they're not trying to get the ball at the 1 yard line. And
so it's literally just about hang time at the 10 yard line.
Right. Whereas I'm not gonna lie, I try to get greedy. It's why I try to hit it to the pylon because I know that if I hit a slow enough rotation ball, it won't bounce forward. And then on top of that, I trust Racing McMath and John Trey Kirkland, who are flying, that they're going to get there before it goes in the end zone. I kicked some punts this year directly to Racy and directly to John Trey, and they caught the ball. I think John Trey caught a couple inside the 5. Yeah. So I was willing to be greedy because I knew what I had. It kind of wasn't fair because I could kick it to a spot where I knew that the returner he's not going to risk catching the ball at the 4 yard line, but John Trey was going to be there to catch it. So
is it riskier to go for that coffin corner?
It's riskier to go close to the end zone. But you're taking a risk because you're kicking it inside the 10. Yeah. And a lot of guys aren't willing to, especially the next level, because you're paid to win field position. And hitting touchbacks it's going to cost you some money. It's going to cost you some money. So they're willing, like I said, to accept the 10 yard line. Course, downing versus me. I'm not gonna get too greedy, but I'm willing to hit it to the 5 because I either am gonna put it close enough to the sidelines that even if it does bounce forward, it's gonna bounce out of bounds, or I'm gonna have enough hang time on it at the 5 that the gunner is gonna be able to make a play. Yeah, and it gets a little dicier the further away you get from the end zone. But with the amount of punts I had inside the 50, I had a lot of confidence hitting the ball at the 5 yard line. Yeah.
So I think maybe what he might be asking also, you remember like the Australian style, like run out rugby kicks they used to do? Those kind of are trending away. Do you know what the pros and cons of doing it that versus a traditional punt are?
So the rollout punts are a lot harder to block because it's a moving kick spot. You want your kick spot to be consistent because your guy in college, at least, you have 3 guys, you have a wall blocking for you. Well, you want to know where that ball is going to be kicked because if you're too far in either direction and they have a blitz package where they come just so happen to come on that side at the right time, they're going to block a kick. And this happened at Ole Miss where I didn't feel comfortable. I probably could have still gotten that punt off, but I felt more comfortable sidestepping the guy and getting the punt off on more of a rugby style kick because I knew I was going to
Ole Miss
this year, the last game. So like I caught the ball and I thought I had a feeling I'd get it off, but I was like, you know what? I'd rather be safe. I see a bunch of open space. Let me be safe and get a punt off rather than get a punt blocked in my last game at LSU. Of course. So that was snubbed.
That should have scored. That was really cool. Cade M. Gold, what a badass convo, he says. Dude, just dudes talking about football and being upper millennials. That's all. Let's see. Luke Fielding did have a response. He said, "LOL." He did pitch. He said you came in late in the game and shut him down. So I guess I mean you did fine, I guess. But anyways, so guys, I want to thank y'all for participating in today's show. Thank you, Zach, for joining us. I want to thank Kenneth P. Haines for sponsoring our show. Of course, he's been a TigerBait member since 2006, hardcore TigerBait fan with 30 years litigation experience and trial experience. Y'all give him a call, 318-222-2100. And Zach, thank you for joining us today, man. I've been looking really forward to getting you in studio and doing an interview. I really appreciate it, man.
No problem. Happy to be here, Preston. I've been talking about this for a while, so I'm just happy to do it now.
Yeah,
so it's been
very
fun.
Excited. I hope we get to keep up with you throughout your NFL career and you're not too busy having, a 10-year, 20-year career punt until you're 51, then you really will be on AARP. It won't be a joke anymore. So appreciate you, Zach. All right, guys, y'all have an excellent day. Y'all go.